Hello, everyone. It's me, Dr. Abbas Naqvi, with Dr. Sultana here. We decided to make use of some spare time over the weekend to create a video that would help everyone understand the dynamics of the life of an internationally trained dentist in North America. So, although we are speaking with special reference to most of the conversation revolves around the Canadian system, but I believe some of the dynamics are equally applicable to the American system as well. Maybe not as much, but in a different way. So, welcome.
Thank you.
To this video. And the first thing that we would like to talk about in this video is approaching the process, mentally approaching the process is what I mean. One of the factors, because this process requires, you all know, it's a 3-exam process, the Canadian Equivalency Process, but I usually break up into, I add a step in ahead of the process, which is the paperwork and the profile and paperwork. When we landed in 2012, I remember probably the next day was when we got our registration for NDB done. But at that time, it used to take only 6 weeks for NDB to process that profile, and now it takes a full year. So that is really very much different from the past. So whoever, if you're planning for Canadian exams, just get your paperwork filed and get it into process, so that by the time you have gone through the study process, you are ready to take the exam. And instead of landing and then going through that paperwork, that will add a lot of time to it. With that being said, the first thing that we, having gone through this process, Dr. Sultana completed it in 2017, started in 2015, completed in 2017, with about 3 years. One of the things that we've learned is the importance of planning and patience. So Dr. Sultana, would you like please shed some light on the planning and then the patience that you need to bring in with that?
So it starts with patience, which should be started before you leave your country to come to Canada, because you need to plan and you need to understand that patience is required. There is no rush. There is no competition with any of your friend or sister or sibling that you need to reach that goal before them or after them. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone has different needs in their life, and everyone has different family circumstances. Some are married, some are not. Some are single, some have kids, some doesn't have kids, some spouse are dentists, same profession, so they understand, some they don't understand because they're not from that same profession. So before you come into Canada and preparing to go for the exams, if you're single, no issue, but if you're married and your spouse is not from your profession, you have to make them understand, because their patient counts a lot. It's more than your patients, but it's their patient counts a lot, because if they get frustrated with the system, you cannot finish it. Either if it's your husband or it's your wife, it's vice versa the same. So planning mentally and financially are the two things that you have to work on before you come to Canada, or if you have even arrived to Canada and you're still in that process. So mentally means that you have to accept that this system in Canada, North America, takes a lot of time, which is fine. You need to have a patience for that. You don't have to get frustrated. And if you have that mental capacity to understand and adapt to the Canadian system, you are halfway through. The other things comes with planning. Either you're bringing a lot of money, then it doesn't make any issue to you to pursue that career. But if you have limited resources and financial restrictions when you're coming to Canada, you have to plan strategically for that part as well. Like how much you want to spend, how much resources are available, how much you can get it from Canadian system. Do you have that information? If you don't have, where to approach, who is going to guide you, and what kind of a guidance you're looking for. You're looking for financial planning, you're looking for good advice from a good resource, or you're looking for study resource, or what study groups are available, what kind of help you need in that one. So basically starting from your approach for leaving for Canada for this purpose to be a dentist in Canada, you need to have a mental and financial planning done before you come to Canada. If you're already in Canada, you have done your paperwork, you're registered, you're going for your exams. In COVID, the situation has changed. Still, you have to have a patience because with COVID, everyday situation is changing. Either they cancel the exams, they don't have facilities available during COVID where they can conduct the exams. You don't have to be frustrated about it. Just learn and adapt with the system and try to utilize this time, especially if you're in Canada, you're registered with one of the exam and you're waiting for your turn. So make a good use of that time. Start
this good use could be could mean different things for different people.
Right.
For people who are excuse me, who are at the ACS stage, good use of this time could mean taking a slow approach, slowing down their approach, because yes, there's uncertainty ahead of you, but you know that you're at that stage, you're already at that stage. So you could start preparing for it. Maybe not in an intensive way, a slow way, but you can start preparing. For someone who is at the AFK stage or ACJ stage, yes, it could mean different things. You could spend this time studying. You could spend this time splitting your schedule between working and studying, depending on, again, what stage you are. If your paperwork is in process, then you're not going to be taking the exam anytime soon. So probably either you focus on working and spend this time productively in terms of financial productivity, or if you want to take some courses, you want to apply for OSAP, go to a college program, that is also an option. But be very conscious of, be very realistic in taking those courses. Don't go for too long courses. Don't go for a commitment like dental hygiene. That's a very lengthy and expensive commitment. I wouldn't advise doing that. But yes, if you're looking at something like office admin or assisting, sure. But yes, everyone has to make that call depending on their individual circumstances. The next thing is be very wise in using your resources, in choosing your resources. Some people are confident enough that they can prepare for exams themselves, which is good for them. But coming from a Middle Eastern or South Asian background, you have to understand that the North American approach is slightly different, especially Canadian approach is slightly different, and you really need to understand what are they trying to get to, what's the objectivity in the way they're asking their questions, or the way the system is designed. So so try to get a hang of that, and that's a very important part. Secondly, as Dr. Sultana said, plan your life very carefully, not just your professional life, your life around your life, your personal life, because the two are related. You got to balance two things, and the way we did it was very difficult. Yes, our situation was characterized by a dentist couple. Sometimes, as Dr. Sultana said earlier, that sometimes some people may not be married, so they're the happy ones. But then they could be married and have a non-dentist spouse. Then that presents with slightly different challenges. Then you could be married to a dentist, which is, I think, a very good thing. And you have the ability to understand each other's problems better. And then you could be married and have kids. And it was the top level situation in our case. We married with kids. We had 3 kids when she started in 2015. And learning by experience. So obviously the first time around, it didn't go that well. But there was a change of resources. In fact, it was not 2, it was 3 experiences. I went through an experience, then she went through the same experience, and only after making those mistakes twice, we realized, and this was at a time when information resources were not really very common, that we were doing something wrong. And then a change of resources took Dr. Sultana's score from 69 to 86. and she was able to apply to get a score
Universities.
to at least apply to universities, and which she did, and got at least two
2 calls.
interview calls. What happened next?
So at that time, our batch was the one which was like in AFK, they started twice a year program, and then the competition became tough. And the next batch who came out after us, in fact, they scored in 90s. So the competition was tough. So I couldn't make it in university, which I don't regret anymore. I finished my skills, and I did it in first attempt, which I wasn't sure, to be honest, but sometimes things work out for you, and he plans the things for you. But you have to keep in mind that if you're planning and you know what you're doing, you can make it. It's not difficult. It takes some time, and sometimes when things take time, it becomes quite frustrating for everyone, and then people consider it's very difficult.
Especially if you don't factor it in advance.
Yeah.
If you already have it in your mind, okay, this process is going to take me 3 years, so you will not get frustrated at least before 3 years.
I have no number in my
Right.
mind, like when I'm going to finish it. I was going exam by exam. I have to do my AFK. Okay, this is done. I'll go for ACJ. Okay, ACJ is done. Now I'll go for my skills, because I spent 1 year in applying universities and then getting the calls, and then I did not get accepted. So why I waste my another year in that one? Because universities take more time, from 6 months to 1 year, even if you get accepted. So you're already 1 year will be wasted.
And now universities are converting to a 3-year program.
Yeah.
So it's going to take you 1 year to get in and 3 years to do the program.
Almost 4 years.
And if you add the time of the NDV paperwork, it's a 5-year project. So as compared to that path, which is applicable only to less than 100 people anyways every year, the ACS definitely goes in favor of a certain type of people who are, who might be, so a certain type of candidate might benefit from going towards the exam path better than others.
And there is one more change I think we did not discuss in the previous video. It's about IELTS. Now you have to give your, they check your
Yes.
command on English as well, which was not at my time when I graduated. You have to score enough to work in Ontario, otherwise you have to go to practice in other provinces. For at least, I think, if I'm not wrong, 2 years. But you have to have a good score in IELTS after OSCE, the final exam that you give, and everyone has to give either if you're going to university or to skills. But now you have to give English test as well.
Right. So so yeah, that's a near requirement as far as Ontario is concerned. And now the recent changes, and I mentioned this in one of my blogs on the website, that they are really not unexpected, because that is why we named our project Canadian Integration by Dental Education, because it focuses on integration, and we've been focusing on this integration for 4 years. Now we can see in the recent changes that the Canadian authorities sensed the gap of integration in the way ITDs communicate in the society. So that's why first the requirement of IELTS was brought in by the Royal College, and now they are introducing OSCE and treatment planning components and
informed consent,
informed consent and those components. Definitely there has been a gap, and we've been trying to help people integrate into the profession by holding new dentist boot camps for the last 4 years. And this is what is the next most important part: integration. You need to be mentally prepared, not just planning your exam process, planning your life around it, but also understand how dentistry operates in real life in Canada. And that is something that you need to educate, you need to look for resources. But for all practical purposes, obviously, this is just a side note that you need to be conscious of. What I want to talk about is coping with managing the process successfully. One is, you mentioned patience, planning, then picking your resources very rationally, because you see, money is a scarce resource for most people. And when you're looking to spend money somewhere, you have to find the best balance between what you're paying for and what you're getting. And what I mean by that is that there will be resources, there will be options that ask for probably an arm and a leg, which is a lot, which is not affordable for everyone. And then there's this other extreme that probably seem too good to be true. And you know what they say about things that are too good to be true? If you think and feel that something is too good to be true, it probably is. So there are many catches, and I would highly stress on choosing your resources carefully. And we learned it the hard way because Dr. Sultana went through a trial and error um, of not making it just because the fact that the resources were not reliable enough. And now that you teach people in ACS, what do you find as the most common um, challenge when they've crossed all those hurdles of AFK, ACJ, and now they're with ACS? They're obviously confident that they've done the hard work, they've spent the time, made the effort, and now reached at this point. This is a big mountain to many people. What are the common problems that you find while working with them?
As I mentioned earlier, that first of all, planning, like when you are coming for skills. So for skills, there are two important factors that really count and make you pass the exam. One is your approach towards the exam. What are you doing from that exam? Why are you doing those procedures? What's the concept behind those procedures? What will happen if something goes wrong? What will be the after effect? And if you know how to check your own work. If you don't have to check your own work, you cannot blame anyone. Teachers, instructors in any center, they are there to help you, to guide you. It's your hand, it's your skill, it's your brain, and it's your approach to go through that and to understand. But our guidance is the big guidance that helps you to understand. You have to have a concept. If I'm doing one of the procedure, why that procedure needs to avoid some of the mistakes. And if we make those mistakes,
what are the clinical implications?
What will be the clinical implication in the clinic? Because they are checking you if you are a good candidate to enter into the system. If you don't know that, they will make you fail. So for that, it's very important that you understand what's the concept of that procedure to fulfill that project. And then if you have any issue in that, do you aware of correcting it? And can you correct it in a timely manner? If you don't know how to manage your time, if you don't know how to manage your stress at that time, that will make a trouble for you on the day of exam. The reason is, if, for example, if you are doing one project and that project takes time, in the next project you will be late. If something goes in the second procedure, and if first, if you know if you can correct it, fine. Then if you have enough time to correct it, fine. And both situations are not there, then what will you do? Obviously, you have to miss that project and you have to move on to one of the other. In 2022, everything is changing now with the format, and you have to pass all the exercises. There is no E. You cannot get one E and pass the exam. You have to have all A's, and it will be only pass or fail. So as the grading is changing, as the format is changing, you have to be very cautious, and you have to understand that you need a good planning. You have to train your brain how to cope with stress. You have to train your brain, if something goes wrong, how I'm going to correct it, do I have enough time? And this all comes with practice. And during that practice time, you can ask your instructors, how should I manage all this? Sometimes, we are under so much stress. We don't understand very small, minor things, which in a daily life doesn't count, but when you're working, then it counts. So time management, stress management, and your skill. These are the three things that make you pass the exam. Other than that, if nothing works for someone, then unfortunately it's the luck part, which I have seen for a few of my colleagues. Doesn't work, but I think changing the format from this year make them come back to the system again, and hopefully they'll be in the Canadian system soon.
Yeah, actually, with these recent changes, what they are expected to do is probably increase the success rate a bit more.
Yeah.
Yes, the exams are going to be held more frequently. It's And now it will be most likely a more standardized exam because NDB is going to have those exams in its own facility. So yes, on one end, it's a bit more stricter in the fact that now you don't have the leeway of failing a project. But on the other hand, you have more opportunity in terms of being able to take that exam
More attempts.
in a few more times during the year, because it
But
used to be only twice a year.
for few more attempts with more amount of money.
Yes, yes.
So you have to work on that
and we
too.
don't really know how this is going to unfold in terms of the fee, because there's a few question marks that still need to be answered, and the NDB will elaborate them
Later
in
on, yeah.
probably fall this year. And one of the things that might see a change could be the fee as well, because there's going to be more attempts. Now they will have their own facility, probably their expenses towards the universities will reduce. So this might improve the fee factor as well. Well, fingers crossed. Let's hope so. Let's hope for the best of what happens there. One question with regards to handling yourself during the process, because as what we were talking about earlier is people have different family setups, people have different plans to reach that objective. What do you think is how should things be prioritized when it's, how did you balance it? Well, in fact, that's more relevant in terms of work, home life, and the exam preparation. I know you didn't have to do a job, but how did you balance? But you had 3 kids and then this preparation. So how was that handled?
As I said,
I believe you had a supportive spouse.
Definitely have. It's about all organization, like how you organize yourself. You have to plan if you're starting your exams. You have to plan if you have kids, where the kids are going to stay at home, daycare. Daycare, are you eligible for subsidized daycare? If not, what will be the other choice? Daycare centers, private daycares. Regarding the finances, do you have enough finances? If not, what are the banking solutions available? Which approach is right to you? I know few people, they say we don't want to use that money because it's an additional loan. So when you're going to a university, you will have a loan of 300,000 as compared to ACS where you will have less loan. So all these things need pre-planning. If you don't pre-plan your family, if you don't pre-plan your career, you cannot make it. You have to balance it. So when I was studying, I have to plan my day from 6 o'clock till 12 o'clock at night, at morning till night, that when I'm going to drop off my kids, when I'm going to start studying, when I have to go and attend the course in the center, when I'm going to pick them back, and after picking them back, am I going to go back to my studies, or I have to feed them if he's going to take care of them, or I have to do something extra. There are so many things you have to do at home, then you have family around. I cannot say that you have to shut the doors for everyone and just focus on your studies, but you have to have your personal life as well. So pre-plan everything before you start anything. It will help you a lot. I have a group of friends, and a couple of them have 2 or 1 kid, and I have the more 3. So we know we were planning, and we 3 used to go out with planning. Every day we used to discuss, okay, we are going to do this much. This is, and a couple of them were traveling from so far. I know that they have to spend most of their time on the roads. So at that time, because where they used to live, there were no centers available. So they have to come to Mississauga or Brampton, where we used to go. But the thing is, you have to pre-plan everything. If you are not planning, especially if you are a mother, you have more responsibility. If you are a father or a man, single or just married, then you have a different kind of responsibility of, bringing food to the table and studying. So you have to organize yourself. The basic concept in living in Canada is you need to have a good organizational skills, and they count a lot, not only when you're giving these exams, even after passing the exam.
Organization is one part of it, but then knowing the system is the other part. Because knowing how the system works and how to use the system to the best of your benefit is another key part, because there are components of the system there is an interplay between all those components. Everything is connected to the other thing. If you want to study in a program, you want to secure a student loan versus whether it is you want to send your children to the daycare, and planning everything. So these things are all interconnected. So it's very important to plan these components of life that will facilitate your professional pursuits. So, and that's where the integrated approach comes in. If you have any questions on that, feel free to ask us. And not just equivalency process related, but even anything that has to do with any other part of life. At that time previously, we didn't have the liberty or the luxury of having financial resources like the CIDC program available, which is now available, and that's a huge advantage. That is a huge advantage. And as if you compare that liability to the loans that, as Dr. Sultana mentioned, the university graduates secure, well, they're going to graduate with $300,000 loan, and if you're successful as a direct licensee, you will graduate with probably something around $100,000. And trust me, once you're into practicing dentistry, you will probably pay that off in 1 year. You should be able to 1 to 2 years if you're managing yourself and your finances nicely. You should be able to pay that off pretty quickly. So with that said, keep in mind that a very important component of using resources is how flexible those resources are. So at CIDE, what we've done is we have started the most unique way of offering these courses in a very flexible manner. And this includes INBDE for US, AFK, ACJ, ACS. These courses can be taken in multiple formats. At least for INBDE, AFK, and ACS, I can tell you, you can take these courses nearly at any time of the year. For ACS, these courses vary from 1 to 11 months. They offer different intensities, like part-time and full-time, and that makes it possible for us to be able to cater to nearly every need. Whether you're working, you have a hectic schedule, you have a light schedule, you can easily balance work life with our ACS and other courses. So keep that in mind, and we would be happy to help you with any questions that you may have about the equivalency process, about North American equivalencies, including the new INBDE exam, whether it is something around those processes or something that involves how to manage things that relate to Canadian life in terms of a bigger picture. So Dr. Sultana has now been teaching ACS for around 3 years. She'll be happy to help you if you have any ACS related questions or any integration related questions, whether it is, buying a practice, if you've already graduated, or working in a dental office, if you're looking for those help. I am proud to say that most of our team in our dental office is made up of ITDs. So we are happy to support the ITDs at our office, and obviously we are here to advise you, help you with anything that you may need. Take care of yourself, and please feel free to post any questions under this video. We will make sure that we are answering them. We will help you with them, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Take care.